Congress has reached a bipartisan deal, specifically the Senate has reached a bipartisan deal to inject more money into small businesses and hospitals. Now, as we have reported earlier, the money that was allocated to help small businesses ran out quickly. And so this legislation totals $484 billion and delivers funding to small businesses and hospitals. According to a summary of the deal, the legislation includes $321 billion for the depleted Paycheck Protection Program. That's the program that's meant to help small businesses, of which $60 billion is set aside for underbanked businesses, a priority for Democrats. Now, again, only $60 billion of that $321 billion is going to go toward underbanked businesses. So there's been an issue with the previous stimulus bill where banks were obviously giving their pre-existing customers preferential treatment. And so I'm concerned that the small portion of this that will be dedicated to the underbanked businesses just isn't enough. But let me give you more details. The deal also includes $60 billion in loans and grants for economic disaster assistance, $75 billion for hospitals, and $25 billion for coronavirus testing. Of that testing money, $11 billion will go to states, and some will also go to the federal government. Now, look, this story broke close to showtime, and we don't have as many specific details as I would like. The legislation still needs to go to the House. It needs to be approved by the House, where there is quite a bit of pushback by progressive lawmakers. But I'll give you those details in just a minute. Cenk, I wanted you to chime in and tell me what you think about this.
So good news, bad news. Good news on the small business loans. That's very vital to the economy and needed. Further good news, I think, on the underbanked businesses getting it. Look, that's a situation where Democrats fought for people that are middle class and usually more minority communities. And so it does make a difference if you're a Democrat or Republican. And the Republicans would have never fought for those people and didn't fight for those people, and the Democrats did. So credit where credit is due. And I'm glad that another good thing is I'm glad that they got money to the hospitals and for testing. My question is, why did the Republicans fight to keep money away from testing? That's unbelievable. Why is that a concession? Okay, the Democrats would like to test people, so A, we can keep them alive, but B, so we can reopen the economy, the thing that the Republicans claim that they care most about. Testing is the #1 way to reopen the economy. Republicans are like, no way, not going to do it. Why? And then, that's a concession that they get from the Republicans. The Republicans are fine, I guess we'll do medicine, okay? But you're not getting anything more. We're not giving anything more to the states or anything like that. So obviously the downsides are states get nothing. But to me, the biggest question mark, which is not resolved yet, partly because the House has to vote on it, partly because the reporting on it is so fresh, is there's a reference to the Democrats not being able to stop limits on fossil fuel subsidies. We're not sure what that means yet, but there better not be any fossil fuel subsidies. I don't know why on God's green earth we would ever give a penny to a single oil company. That's insane.
Yeah, to a failing industry, while also denying any investment in, renewable energy, which is where the future is, including where the future jobs are. But, just to speculate about what motivates Republicans, everything they do is based on short-term profits. And so for them, yes, testing has a huge impact on the economy long term, right? Because if you don't get a handle on this virus, then the economic pain is going to drag on. But for Republicans, they're like, no, let's just figure out a way to stimulate the economy right now, put as much money as we can in, first of all, most of the money has gone toward bailing out massive corporations. But now, they're throwing an additional bone to small businesses, which I, didn't think they did a good job with early on with one of the earlier stimulus bills, which is why that money ran out so quickly. They also didn't have the appropriate oversight to ensure that that money was actually going to small businesses that needed that money and deserved that money. But let's go to the House now, because I think that there will likely be pushback by members of the Progressive Caucus. Will their pushback actually be powerful enough or influential enough to get some of the concessions that they want? I don't mean to be pessimistic, but I doubt it. But I still like the fact that they're fighting. And one of the more aggressive fighters is Representative Ocasio-Cortez. Credit where credit is due. She, along with other progressives, put together a press conference to talk about their demands. And they're threatening to vote against this stimulus deal unless they get the concessions they want. Namely, they want many things that actually help individuals, including a federal paycheck guarantee program, hazard pay for frontline workers, which is so important because so many of those essential workers right now are risking their lives in order to do their jobs, right? But they should be paid more than what they're typically paid, considering the enormous amount of stress they're under right now. And so one of the things that Schumer claimed that he was going to fight for was the hazard pay. But he's a senator. It doesn't seem like he fought hard enough. So the monthly payments that they want, it's $2,000 per month. That would be recurring for about 6 months. And they also want a national moratorium on evictions and foreclosures that impact not only people who live in government housing or have a government loan, but would actually impact every single American because this virus has impacted every single American. And they want protections for everyone, regardless of immigration status. Now, I want to go to this quick video of AOC. This was during her recent Put People First press conference, along with other progressives. And here's what she had to say.
I just think it's important for us to say that incrementalism is not helpful in this moment. It's not helpful for people to say, oh, well, we got something, so we might as well support it. You know, we got a nickel, we got a dime in $1 trillion bill, so a nickel is more than nothing, so we should support it, is unacceptable. Not in my community. A nickel doesn't help. It's like putting a Band-Aid on an enormous wound. It's not going to help us. And the thing is that I would be amenable to accepting this kind of logic if Congress actually was in session and convening. But if you're going to say, and if we're going to say that this new bill is going to give us $5 and then Congress is going to peace out for another month-long recess, I'm here to say that that's not going to help our communities.
I love the fact that she's calling out Pelosi and the whole voice vote that happened with the previous stimulus bill.
Yeah. See, that's what leadership looks like. And if we had Democratic leaders like her who understood framing, it would make a giant difference. So right now, the way that it's being framed in the press is Republicans had a plan to help small businesses, but Democrats delayed that plan for nearly 2 weeks. That's the Republican framing, and they were largely winning on that framing. Now, the real framing should be, wait, no, Democrats want to put people first, and the right priority for funding should be first, actual American citizens, then small businesses, and then large businesses. When in reality, the current funding system is over 90% to giant businesses, then small businesses, and at the very bottom is actual American citizens. Now, if you had that framing where the Democrats are fighting for actual humans and the Republicans are fighting for giant corporations, which is true, then the Democrats would win. They'd win on the bills, they'd win on the policies, and they'd win in the elections. But instead of doing what AOC is doing, the Pelosi's and the Schumers of the world go out there and go, don't. We have a deal. We have to support Trump and the Republicans and the deal that we struck with them. And the deal we struck with them is super mediocre at best. And so here's AOC ruining our deal with beloved Republicans and Trump by doing really good framing, which also happens to be true.
I commend AOC for staying true to her values. And look, we covered that story where I was a little concerned, just based on her public rhetoric, was very favorable against Pelosi. I was worried that she was starting to waver when it came to the issues that mattered the most. But you watched that press conference and she did not hold back, and calling out Pelosi, not by name, but you know who she's talking about, regarding the way that they voted on the previous stimulus bill, I think is important. And she's made clear that she was not in favor of that bill because of the corporate bailouts. We need that kind of, you're right, we need that kind of leadership in Congress. And I'm glad that she's a voice of reason in the middle of this pandemic, where it feels like politicians on both sides have used this as an opportunity to redistribute wealth to the top again.
So we had a slight disagreement with AOC on strategy, but here she is fighting for the right policies and again being the toughest fighter we have on those. So awesome, love it, and happy to have progressives leading the way in fighting for the average American citizen, that in a democracy should be what every representative does. Unfortunately, it's very rare. That's why it's a fresh of breath air when you see not only AOC, but others that participate in that conference, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Ayanna Pressley do that so effectively.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.